It's Drive Time with Holly. Business and consumer news you can trust. I mean, what else are you going to do sitting in traffic?
Yes, it is another edition of Drive Time with Holly, where we talk business and consumer news. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe, and I'm joined by the president of the Better Business Bureau of Central Florida, Holly Sammons. How are you?
Good. We're here. Glad to be here.
Yeah, things are finally starting to get back to normal after the hurricane.
By getting back to normal, you mean more and more people are returning to homes with power?
Yes.
Yeah, because the home improvement, the roofing, the tree guys would tell you they're in the eye of the storm themselves right now.
Yeah, that's very true, and that's actually going to be a big topic for us today, and we're going to take calls and texts on that as well. But I mean, just the power thing alone, I saw on my social media, I'm sure you did as well, every time someone got power, they were
return to the human race.
They were putting it on their social media. I have power, right. Yay, big bold letters. So
yeah, because when you go a week without power, it really starts to wear on you. And then if you're trying to go to work and you've got kids in the house, yeah, it's tough, and it really starts to wear you down.
Yeah, I remember after Hurricane Charlie, we were out of power at my parents' house for 2 weeks. And it definitely wears you down.
Yeah, it's the heat, the sweat, trying to live a normal life without power. It's rough. We had a couple of employees that went almost 9 days without power, and certainly you could walk around the office and tell who had power and who didn't. You
could do that here as well. You could totally walk down the hallway and you just look at them and say, yep, they don't have power. Yeah. And then someone who's just normal, bright, and it's like, oh, they must have power.
Right, and the storm is so widespread that it wasn't just one or two counties that were suffering. It seems like, most of your listening audience, it was street by street, people were affected.
Yeah, and I think the power companies did the best they could with the situation they had. I mean, I give them a lot of credit. After just a week, they had 90% of people without power restored when over 60% of the state lost power after the storm.
Yeah, and there were a lot of crews that came in from out of state. Certainly, you could see those trucks and see those crews all around town eating at restaurants and things like that. But, if you're one of those people in the 10% that didn't have their power back, it was still a big deal to you. And it must have been frustrating to see all your friends on social media bragging about just how cold that air conditioning is. So I think, that 10% became very vocal very fast.
Oh, yeah. They're more mad at the situation, I think.
Absolutely.
Than the power companies. But another thing, even if you have power back, you had brought this up, there still might be some damage to your house. There still might be some damage to especially your roof.
Right.
That's kind of the big thing. I've seen a couple of blue tarps around Central Florida. People put that up until they get the roof fixed because there's a leak, obviously, and that happens with a hurricane. So we brought in a special guest today. He is Kevin Delaney, who is the president of Total Home Roofing, and he's going to be our expert today on what to do after a hurricane in terms of if you have to fix your roof and what steps you need to take. So, Kevin, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. We made it through the storm.
You still have a lot of work to do, I think.
Just warming up, I think.
Just warming up. And by the way, if you have a question for Kevin, you can call 407-916-5400, or you can text to 23680. First question I have for you, Kevin, is how'd you do during the storm?
Well, we fared well. We've got a few locations. Our corporate office is over in Brevard County, and we were out without power. It got hit. I would say it got hit a little harder than you guys did. The bigger thing we were without was water. You guys talk about electricity. I think I took for granted washing my hands and taking that shower. And
I wonder why did you have such a problem with water?
Well, I live on an island, so what they'll typically do is they don't want any water to pollute other water sources, so they actually shut it off.
Makes sense.
When they have enough surplus, they shut it off when it's about to hit, just to protect that. And then it was there was so much flooding. So it was this storm was a little different than some of the previous ones we've had.
It was so widespread.
Absolutely. The whole state was affected.
That was the big thing. So I want to start by just getting your expertise on the subject of roofing, because I know a lot of people out there who are listening right now want to know. And I guess the first thing is, if they notice they have damage to their roof, what do they do? What's the first step?
Well, normally you would say call your insurance company if it's substantial, and obviously try to call a roofer. Normally, it's a little easier to get a hold of a roofer. We've been hearing that a lot of roofing contractors are really not able to answer their phone. We thought it was simply because the electricity was out, but the demand is quite a bit higher. But the first thing you want to do is you want to do a survey of your roof. You want to walk around your house. You want to see if you can see it from the ground. You never want to go up on your roof. I can tell you this: the only people I know that have ever fallen off a roof were not roofers. They're
right.
always homeowners that think they can do something. So you want to just do a visual inspection. If you had any leaking in the home, that's pretty obvious. You usually can get up in your attic. You want to observe. You want to see if you see any wet areas on your plywood or whatever. And you just want to take precautions. You want to make sure that you do hire you call somebody to get out there and kind of give you an expert opinion on it.
Can I choose my own roofer, or do I have to wait for word from my insurance company?
You absolutely can choose your own roofer. They're going to sit there and tell you got to use our person or our contractor or whatever. Under the circumstances, there's just not enough. There really are not going to be enough licensed roofing contractors out there to help with the demand that's going to be out there. So, typically they'll allow leniency when you have a storm of this magnitude.
I'm guessing, though, that you would encourage people to get a licensed roofer.
Well, typically you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, exactly.
But when the demand is this high, meaning people are scared, people are worried, they want their roof taken care of, they're willing to listen or believe or do anything that they can to kind of fix the situation. In the state of Florida, really, you have to have a license to do a roof. Florida is one of the few states that requires a licensed roofer. They have to verify that we have workers' comp, general liability. They got to make sure that we're licensed, we're bonded. Everything that you would want to protect you as the homeowner, we have to show the state that we have, and we have to show each municipality the same.
That's not really a corner you want to cut, because believe me, the next time a storm blows through, if you've cut that corner, you're really going to be crossing your fingers and your toes hoping that unlicensed work holds up. And if I know we're going to talk about this later, but if you chose a roofer from out of state, the likelihood that they're coming back to fix their work or coming back to make good on that warranty, that may or may not be a safe bet.
It's just not going to happen. They're not here to. There's no relationship with these guys. The local roofing contractors, the local contractors, we're here for a reason. We're here when you need us. We hope you never need us. I always tell people I hope I never see you again after I do their roof. But sadly, sometimes we got to come back. Sometimes you have minor leaks. Right.
Well, and you live and work in this community, so your reputation here
Absolutely.
Is important.
Yes, it's everything. Yeah. There's nothing more important.
Right.
We're talking with Kevin Delaney, who is the president of Total Home Roofing. And I want to give you an opportunity to tell our audience how they can reach you guys at Total Home Roofing if they have roofing problems.
Well, I would normally say to call my office.
Yeah.
I
have a feeling you're a little busy these days.
Well, and here, remarkably, I would argue, the largest residential roofing contractor in Central Florida. I've got 3 locations, and we've got a lot of capacity to answer calls. Right now I have 6 full-time staff just answering phone calls. This is crazy. Just answering phone calls, scheduling appointments, and by the end of the day, they don't put the phones down. I'm bringing in pizza, and we're having phone party. By the end of the day, we'll have 200-300 voicemails that we haven't got to.
Wow.
So what we've done, and I think it's been a blessing for us, is we're telling people to use social media, to use email, and email us. You can email us. The quickest way to get an estimate or get someone out there with my company is to email our company at irmarelief@throofing.com. That's T as in Tom, H as in Harry, roofing.com. Or you can go on our Facebook page, and it's Total Home Roofing, and you can message me. You message me, you give me your name, your address, your phone number, and we'll call you the same business day. And I can tell you, people are so relieved. They say, I've been trying for 3 days to get a hold of a roofer, and I send you an email and you call me within 5 minutes. And I can't promise you 5 minutes, but I can assure you that it's a lot easier for me to call you than to go back through 500, 600, 700 voicemails. It's just the demand is off the charts right now.
Well, we already have some texts coming in that we're going to get to after the break. If you have a question for Kevin Delaney or Holly or myself, you can call 407-916-5400, or you can text to 23680. You are listening to Drive Time with Holly. We're talking with Kevin Delaney, who's the president of Total Home Roofing. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe, here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Drive Time with Holly. Business and consumer news you can trust.
Yes, and welcome back to the show, everyone. I am your host, Michael Yaffe, as well, joined by Holly, of course. Yeah. And we are also joined by the president of Total Home Roofing, Kevin Delaney. And Holly, we've been sort of going over some things dealing with roofing, which is definitely number one on a lot of people's minds right now after the hurricane. Yeah,
Kevin made a good point during the break was that, your home is for most people, it's your most valuable asset. And the roof is what protects most of what's inside your home. So when you've got a problem with your roof, you have a lot of trickle-down problems. And I mean that literally and figuratively, that if you've got water coming in because you have a roof problem, that leads to all kinds of other problems on the inside. God forbid you've got a gaping hole from a tree down, then you've got an even bigger problem. But to Kevin's point, your home is your most valuable asset. Putting a new roof on that home is oftentimes one of the more expensive purchases that an adult makes in their life. So this is a big deal.
Well, and we say it all the time. It's sort of an offhanded comment we say about our home. Well, I have a roof over my head.
Right.
So it's just
take it for granted.
Exactly right. So, but it's that important. So, Kevin, we have some texts coming in. If you have a question for Kevin, you can call 407-916-5400 or text to 23680. One person asked this. They asked, is it illegal for a homeowner to replace their own shingles if you have no leaks and you use the proper tools, procedures, and materials?
No, it is not illegal. I would say it's ill-advised. And I would check on one thing. Most people don't choose to do a new roof. This isn't buying curtains. We want to change the color of our roof. It's extremely expensive. So typically, something will cause you to have to spend a lot of money. A hurricane, certainly one of them. A lot of times your insurance company is going to send you a letter that says, hey, your roof is old, you need to replace it. So normally, if that happens, you want to make sure that if you do it yourself, and I'm not saying you can't or shouldn't, you certainly can. The state allows it. Local governments allow it. It's called owner-builder. That your insurance company will count that as a re-roof, meaning
really?
Absolutely. We see it all the time. They go out and they do it themselves, not by a licensed contractor. And then the insurance company, after they've spent a lot of money anyway, says, nope, that doesn't count. That wasn't done up to code because it wasn't done by a licensed roofer. So I would just check on that first. Now, small repairs, I think we had another one of those texts, especially considering it's very difficult to get a hold of a lot of roofers. I would never advise it. I said the only people that have ever fallen on a roof since I've been in business were homeowners. However, it might be difficult to get someone out. It is that bad. If you absolutely have to do it, I would encourage you to do a couple things first. First of all, safety. Get on YouTube. Search how to secure a ladder. Have someone with you. How to climb a ladder. There are so many specific ways that we are required to do it for safety standards that you can learn on your own. So it's really not that it's hard. It's more the safety of getting to and from the roof that causes people to get hurt. So just take extra precaution and make sure that safety is your first thing. You've got someone you either know how to secure the ladder properly, or you have someone below that's securing that ladder, and you know how just search a YouTube video on how to put a ladder against your house. Just be safe. That's all I ask.
That being said, Debbie Downer is going to remind you that if you go up a ladder and start tacking shingles onto a roof that has a warranty from a roofer,
that's a great point.
And you go up and start adding shingles, start doing repairs yourself because the weight, because you're not able to wait, or because you don't want to wait, or because you think the damage is minor enough that I can do this myself because I watched a few YouTube videos. Keep in mind, don't be surprised when you call that roofer to come make good on the warranty a few years from now and they say, hey, somebody put some random Home Depot shingles on this roof. What do you know about that? So be careful. You don't want to void your own warranty.
I don't think you're a Debbie Downer for saying that.
Well,
Look at her. She's trying to get me more business. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Holly.
I've watched a lot of YouTube videos in my day, and I still can't put on false lashes. So if I can't watch YouTube videos and figure that out.
Sounds like you've tried, though.
Many times. So I'm definitely not trying to fix my own roof if I can't pull that together.
So we're going to get more into the warranty thing in a second, but I have a couple of calls that I want to take. Calls for you, Kevin. Let's take a call from Mike in Orlando. Mike, how are you today?
Hey, everybody. I'm good. How are you?
Hey, Mike.
What's your question?
I received a flyer on my door. I had some roof damage, and it says they can come within the next week to fix my roof. Everyone that I've called about 3 or 4 roofers around the area, and they all say it's going to be about 2 to 3 weeks. My gut says, that doesn't sound right. Just wanted to check with you guys to make sure. What should I do?
So it sounds like.
And thank you for your call, Mike.
Yeah, it sounds like he got a flyer on his door, and I know in Better Business Bureau experience that when people come knocking door to door, when people start, papering a neighborhood, especially after a disaster like this, that means they've got extra time on their hands. Kevin, do you have extra time on your hands to be putting flyers out?
Was I late today?
Yeah, I think,
part of that was I-4 traffic, but
right. I'll let Kevin answer, but I think from Better Business Bureau's standpoint, we tell consumers all the time, especially after a natural disaster, that door hangers and flyers, especially following a storm, especially if they've got an area code, those are red flags that you may be dealing with a storm chaser. Again, Kevin, I don't think that you're soliciting work right now because you've got plenty of it. So would you say licensed quality roofers right now are begging for work?
No, most of us have discontinued most advertising we're doing right now just because we don't really need to. You're absolutely right, Holly. I mean, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. The bigger risk, and Holly will attest to this, is they're going to be looking for a deposit. They're going to be looking for you to commit something up front, money, something like that. And a lot of times they're not going to complete the work, and then they're certainly not doing it the right way. So it like anything else, with great devastation comes opportunist.
Right.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that they're coming from all over the country.
Well, one of the better things, it was so widespread, and we shouldn't see as much of it because the Harvey was just a few weeks ago. I really think that we won't see the degree that we normally would because it was so large, but you're certainly going to see it. And there are certainly some red flags to look for. Yeah,
they're here. Believe me, before I was even back home after the storm, I pulled into a restaurant that was serving, and there were 3 Kansas City trucks in the parking lot that were in town ready to do, mold and water removal and remediation. So they were anticipating it, and certainly people are here to provide services. That's not to say that every company that comes from out of state, that comes from out of town, is a classic storm chaser. But nobody knows what it takes to put on a roof that can withstand a hurricane like Florida. Nobody knows water removal, mold remediation standards like Florida because, that's a unique issue for us. And there aren't a lot of states that have to deal with the temperature and the humidity that we have to deal with. So when you're dealing with professionals that come from out of state, it's not just opportunists. It's not just people who may do the work and then leave you and never make good on a warranty. It could be people that don't have experience with what it takes to make the product last in the state of Florida.
Without question, that's probably the biggest thing we see is they're not using the material we use here. They're using material you'll use in Kansas City or somewhere in Ohio or something like that.
Which is not the same.
Completely different roof. So we have some of the most strict building standards in the entire country. It's called Miami-Dade. Everyone hears the Miami-Dade code. I mean, really, it was a result of Hurricane Andrew. I mean, it kind of changed the building codes. And
now, are those codes good for the whole state?
Well, there's a lot of us adopt them. They're not strict to them, meaning you don't have to adhere to all of them. South Florida, absolutely. So you have like wind patterns, so it extends up. But a lot of us will follow the basic Miami-Dade codes, and most of the materials we use, which have to be approved by Florida has their own specific approvals, have to have a Miami-Dade approval. So they can't even get them into Florida without that. So a lot of these guys are bringing their own material in. and they're using stuff that is, and we just got a letter from all the building departments today. Says, look, we are going to, which is probably not a good solution, but they have liability, is we want to review every single permit that goes through here to make sure they're using the right material.
Wow.
I mean, you think about it. It's smart, but now it's going to slow things down because they're afraid of people putting stuff that shouldn't be in Florida.
Right.
If you have a question for Kevin Delaney, who is the president of Total Home Roofing, give us a call right now, 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. And I want to give you before we take a break, I want to give you one last opportunity, Kevin, to give out your information on how people can reach Total Home Roofing.
Okay, well, as I said earlier, there's a few ways to reach us. You can also call us. I have 6 dedicated employees that are certainly willing and able to take the calls. You can, in Orlando, it's 407-960-3810. In Brevard County, you can call us at 321-452-9223. I'm going to give you those numbers again, 407-960-3810, 321-452-9223.
And we actually have a couple more calls coming in. Robin from Castleberry, hold on. We'll get to you right after the break. You're listening to Drive Time with Holly. I am your host, Michael Yaffe, here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA, and we will be right back.
Welcome back to Drive Time with Holly. Business and consumer news you can trust.
Yes, and I'm your host, Michael Yaffe, as well. So we were going to talk about the massive data breach with Equifax because they
it's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Yeah, it's a really big problem that a lot of people are interested in. But we are getting so many calls and texts dealing with Hurricane Irma, the devastation, and specifically roofing.
Yeah.
And
they haven't mentioned my name specifically.
Well, we actually have a caller that has mentioned your name specifically. So we'll get to that, but we are talking with Kevin Delaney, who is the president of Total Home Roofing. We're going to get to the data breach thing next week. So
Stay tuned.
This is why you have to listen to every show. So we do this show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. So you have to listen to every show because there's going to be a lot of consumer and business news that we're going to get to in this show every week. So next week, we're going to get into a lot of detail with that data breach because I know a lot of people are interested in that. But right now, the first thing on everyone's mind is dealing with hurricane damage and dealing with roofing. So I wanted to take a call here real quick because someone's been holding for a while. Let's take a call from Robin in Castleberry. Robin, how are you today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
We're doing pretty good.
Hi, Robin.
Hi there.
So what is your question for Kevin?
My question this evening, Kevin, is I need to know how much is too much for a deposit on a roof. I have several people have come out. They've given me estimates, and some want like 50%. And I'm kind of the keeper of my neighborhood, so I have some people here that are asking me the same thing. I'm trying to protect them at the same time.
That's probably the number one question we get when people call us, too, as a matter of fact. I would say typically I'm not big on deposits, and I actually, Holly educated me on this when I started in the business because it's usually a telltale sign. But, you know, these times are a little different. I will say this. If someone, I would not give a large deposit to anybody more than 10, maybe 15. If they ask for 25, yes, if they're accredited, if you checked them out. If you check them out and you have they're local and you know, first of all, check them out with a BBB. I mean, if they're not on there, don't give a deposit. But what you want to look for, there's a few little tells. If they say, I need to buy your material, they're basically saying their company has no credit, right? Because like anything else, companies, people, we all need credit. And that's a kind of a telltale sign. So the scary part is you don't know if they're buying the materials for the other job that they might not have finished either. So I'd be very careful. I would not give more than 10 to maybe 25% max. I mean, think, Holly, you can jump in.
I think 50%, if 50% is coming out of your pocket, that's a huge risk. And I think if they tell you that they need to buy materials, if they tell you that in order to get on their list for a repair, you've got to be serious and you've got to pay a 50% deposit, I would say thank you, but no thank you. There are legitimate quality roofers out there willing to do your job for a much lower down payment. And I think, you run a huge risk. Once that money leaves your hand, will you ever see it again? And, if they are buying materials with the cash you're giving them and they're robbing Peter to pay Paul, what if the next job, the next door they go to, doesn't have the cash in hand? Is your job going to get finished? So I think 50% is hugely risky. One
thing that we decided to do, because we don't know if we're going to get to a point where we have to take deposits. I mean, everyone has a credit limit. Is we're going to offer to take deposits on credit cards. Obviously, if you take it on a credit card and someone, they skip with your money, you can dispute the charge.
File a grievance, yeah,
absolutely.
And I think
I didn't even think about that. That's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that if you're right now, especially with businesses who are developing wait lists, and that's natural that you've got people knocking down your door to get this work done. I think it's completely reasonable to ask someone to give you a 10 or 15% deposit to show that you're serious and that you're not going to continue shopping around and you're going to have appointments all over town and just hedge your bets on who gets to you first, because that gums up your works. That makes your estimating go more slowly. It throws off you ordering supplies and stuff. So in order to make sure and to communicate to a business that you're serious about this, I think a deposit is reasonable, but 50%, that's a lot of money.
Never that much.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Robin?
That does answer my question. Can I ask another one real quick? Possibly?
Sure. Show is yours.
Okay. My other question is, I have some companies that are telling me that they will take care of my insurance claim for me. And I'm hearing things about turning over your insurance benefits to a company. So what about that?
That's kind of the flavor of the day. It's all over the news. My company does not do any type of, they're called AOB, it's an assignment of benefits. Basically, they are going to be representing you on that claim. Typically, stormers kind of follow this model where they come in, they say, we're going to take the burden, and it certainly is a burden. I'm not going to say that filing a claim isn't stressful. Most of us have never filed an insurance claim once in our entire lives, so we really don't know how to navigate it. So they're going to say, we're going to navigate it. The reality is these insurance companies understand you don't know that. So they're going to send out a representative from their company to kind of, it's called an adjuster, that is going to make sure that they find anything that needs to be found. One of the problems with the assignment of benefits, and this is my opinion, is that what's happening is that then the roofing contractor or whatever, they only have an interest in the money, right? So the entire amount of the claim typically will go back to them. And if you have little extra things that need to be done, like drywall and some painting, it's not always going to get done. So because they're kind of, a lot of times they pocket that. I would never, ever, ever recommend signing an AOB. Your insurance agent will say the same thing. What we do is we actually work with what's called a public adjuster. Most people have never heard of a public adjuster. I can tell you this. Public adjuster is licensed by the state of Florida to absolutely represent you. They're an advocate for you with your homeowner's insurance. So if when in doubt, you have a question, these people are licensed to help you do this. These are the people that you want on your side because they don't have an agenda. They're not allowed to do your roof. They're not allowed to do the painting. They can't legally own anything any of the work that's done. They're not allowed to do it. So I would strongly advise you to stay away from anyone that says that we're going to negotiate and do this. First of all, it's illegal. But it's really not in the best interest of you always.
And two, once you sign an assignment of benefits, you're giving up a lot of your power. You are essentially, you're essentially handing the check over to the roofing contractor, and you then may not have any say on when this gets done, how quickly this gets done. They may make decisions on materials for you. So, don't sign over that assignment of benefits because you're giving up your power. And Better Business Bureau is the first to remind consumers that you want to remain in control of this process and not have the decisions run away from you.
And most of the larger contractors, most of us have been through a storm. We certainly understand how to navigate the insurance process, especially relative to the roof. And that's all the stormers are going to do too. They're only speaking for the roof. So anyone that's been in this business for a while certainly knows how to do that.
Does that answer your question, Robin?
Yes, it does. I thank you for your time and your great information this evening.
Thank you, Robin.
All right. Thank you for your call. If you have a question for Kevin, you can call 407-979-3776. 916-5400, or you can text to 23680. I have another call here that I think you're going to like, Kevin. So we're going to take a call here from Jim in Titusville. Jim, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Jim Hadaway.
All the people out there in Radio Land, I know there's a lot of good, honest businessmen in Central Florida in the roofing business. And I'll tell you, Kevin and his company are at the pinnacle of that group. I used them. Both of my kids have used them for roofs. He does what he says he's going to do. His customer service is absolutely superb. And you call them, and they will show up. I know it's really busy right now, but you can truly trust this man.
Well, Jim, I tell you, I appreciate that. I hadn't spoke with you in a very long time, and I got a call from you, I think, last week. And I remember every one of my customers. Jim was one of the bigwigs out at NASA. So after I did his roof, I think I must have done. He's one of those that if Jim says you got to go with this guy, you go with this guy. So I think I pretty much did a roof for everyone at NASA at some point. He's a joy to talk to, and Jim, I certainly appreciate that. That makes me feel good. Thanks for calling in, man. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jim, thank you so much.
And I think that call underscores the difference between choosing a business that's local here to Central Florida and choosing someone who may have come in from out of state because, that's someone you've developed a relationship with. Jim knows where your offices are. He knows how to get a hold of you. You've developed a relationship. And that's the difference between choosing a licensed contractor here in Florida, in your own community, that you can trust, that you can develop a relationship with, and someone who's just here to get the job done and roll back out of town.
There is value in stormers coming in, especially under the circumstances like now. I mean, the reality is there's too much work, okay? The problem I have with stormers, and trust me, I don't have a problem with anyone. I mean, business is business. Is that they're not part of the community. They don't really have to. Right. I mean, I have to see their kids and grandkids, and if I don't do right by somebody, you know what? People will know. Right. And that's what you guys talk about. I mean, that's really what being an accredited business is about, and that really is what being a local business is about. Is you're part of the community. Look, you have to do right by people. That's how the game works. If you do right, they do right by you.
You have to do right by people. I like that. So we have some more callers coming in. We're going to get to that after the break. If you have a question for Kevin Delaney, who is the president of Total Home Roofing, you can call 407-916-5400 or text to 23680. Lots of people, I know this is number one priority on a lot of people's minds in Central Florida. Right now, I've seen a bunch of blue tarps on roofs just coming into the station today. So I know people are thinking about it. I know people have questions about it. And we have an expert who's going to answer your questions. You're listening to Drive Time with Holly. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe, here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA, and we'll be right back.
Let's be better consumers. You're listening to Drive Time with Holly. Holly.
And welcome back to the show, everyone. You're listening to Drive Time with Holly. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. And Holly, we've been getting a lot of calls and texts.
Right. We had a lot of content planned, but listening to the callers and the texters, this is obviously, we knew it was a big deal, but it's obviously of interest to a lot of people. I mean, like we said before, whether you're in a condo and it may or may not be your problem, or you're in a house, most everyone listening has a roof above their head. So especially with the widespread damage, it's top of mind right now.
Yeah, there is no doubt about it. And we're talking with Kevin Delaney, who's the president of Total Home Roofing. And we're getting so many calls and texts, we might not have time to get to them all. So, Kevin, I wanted to give you the opportunity to tell them how they can reach you guys at Total Home Roofing if we can't get to them on the show today.
Well, I've said a few times, the probably the fastest way if you are in need of a new roof or an estimate is to go on our Facebook page. It's Total Home Roofing. Or you can email us at irmarelief@thrroofing.com. That's irmarelief at T as in Tom, H as in Harry, roofing.com. You can also call our office, 452-9223, and 407-960-3810.
All right, and speaking of those calls, let's take a call here real quick from Chad in Maitland. Chad, how are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem at all.
Yeah, so I had a question on, obviously with roofing issues going on with all the houses, a lot of adjusters are coming out and advertising themselves. How can you decipher good adjusters from bad adjusters or adjusters that, are frauds or things like that, especially for those who are first-time owners and all it is so new to them?
Is the adjuster asking you for money?
Is the adjuster saying they're going to do your roof? There's the differentiation between an adjuster. There's two types of adjusters. You have an adjuster that works for your insurance company, and then you have an independent adjuster or a public adjuster that works kind of on your behalf. They won't do the roof. They won't do the work. They just kind of help you navigate the insurance process. And then you have companies that come in and kind of pretend to be adjusters that know kind of how insurance works. Which one are we talking about?
Well, I had several adjusters approach me, but the one we felt a little comfortable with, they were, I guess, a law firm.
Okay.
That had public adjusters with them, or a lot of attorneys were public adjusters. But we still wanted to get more information, and they're nice people, but because this is all new to us, we just,
yes,
it's a lot of information to take in.
And this adjuster is licensed. They showed you their license?
No, they have not shown me their license, but they have given me a paper that said anytime we can ask for their bar license and things like that.
If they're licensed, here's how I look at it. Anyone representing you is better than no one representing you. When you deal with insurance companies, especially when a hurricane, is they're going to send down we're going to label these insurance adjusters. They work for the insurance company. So these insurance adjusters are coming from all over the country. They don't know the same thing we said about the roofers. They don't know Florida code. They don't know what it takes to build a roof. They really don't know what it takes. So when they come to your home, they're going to assess the damage and say, you need this, you need that. Well, a lot of the stuff, we need extra stuff in Florida. So I would absolutely encourage you to use a public adjuster. They do charge for their service. However, it comes out of the proceeds. So typically, on average, and this is the state reports this, they'll get you about 500% more than you would get representing yourself. So what that means is, and this is the truth, you're dealing with, insurance companies are very large, very wealthy entities. That's why they have the largest building in just about every city. It's kind of like going into court without a lawyer. So I absolutely think having your own public adjuster representing you, they're going to know Florida codes. They're going to know everything. They're there to protect you. They really don't have an agenda other than protecting you, I believe.
I will say, though, anytime you're dealing with consumers who are at risk or are in crisis, which, if you have major damage to your home, that's a point of crisis and huge stress. So I would say, number one, consider, how did these people find me? Did they knock on your door? Did they put a flyer on your door? How did they find you, or did you find them? And then number two would be, absolutely, I want to know your bar, your license number.
Absolutely.
I want to have time to check that out. If you feel like you're being pressured at all, that's a red flag. So I appreciate the fact that you feel comfortable so far and that you like them so far. But before you sign anything, before you allow anyone to represent you, make sure that you're checking on those license numbers. Make sure that you look to see, have they had complaints against their license? Check with Better Business Bureau, see what other consumers have experienced before you let anyone represent you, whether it's going into court or going up against your insurance company. You want to do your homework before you let someone represent you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem at all, Chad. I appreciate your call. Let's take another call real quick. We have Andy in Orlando who has a question on assignment of benefits, which we were talking about a little bit earlier in the show. Andy, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I wanted to chime in. This is an exciting topic to me because I'm a board-certified construction lawyer and I deal with this stuff. And let me just hit some points really fast. One, on the deposit issue, I would never let a client pay a 50% deposit. I would never encourage them to pay any deposit because it's a sign of lack of cash flow, and the chances are you'll never see that money again.
And that's exactly what you were saying, Kevin.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with so much with what your guests are saying, but, a little nuance. I wouldn't mind paying 10% mobilization when somebody is actually showing up with ladders or scaffolds, but that's different from an upfront deposit where they walk away. The important point here is, as an owner, your only leverage, your only way to extract performance out of a contractor is the fact that you're still holding their money. And
Correct.
So whether it's a big deposit or whether it's an assignment of benefits, you're surrendering that leverage. Like your guest was saying now, I had a call an hour and a half ago from a friend of mine who did an AOB. She's got a roofer. She had additional task X that was the sweetener that the roofer was going to do. He hasn't done it. And now the deal is between the insurance company and the roofer to collect the money. And she's lost
Andy?
her ability to call the guy and say,
wow,
I'll hold back $150 till you get this done.
Andy,
Right.
I really appreciate your call. Didn't mean to cut you off.
That's
but
great information, Andy.
Yeah,
Thank
just really good information. But we are just flat out of time. A lot of people, if you did not get a chance to ask a question, you can go to the website, Total Home Roofing. Just go to www.throofing.com. And Kevin, I really appreciate you joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And Holly, we'll have a lot to talk about next week.
That's right. We're gonna get to the Equifax topic. We're also gonna answer more questions on the Drive Time with Holly Facebook page. So go over there and we'll answer some more of the questions about tonight's questions over there.
Sounds good. You are listening to Drive Time with Holly. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe, here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA, and we'll catch you guys next week.